Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the GeN1 podcast. We are your hosts. I'm a man of many names, sometimes Time Bomb, sometimes Tank, but you'll know me as Gage. G-A-G-E. Not a tire gauge, not a gas gauge.
And definitely not the N gauge.
Not the N gauge. The N gauge was terrible. So there we go. I also got myself a little partner in crime here. He is the mysteriously magical, the notoriously negative, Nicky Broder.
Hi, everybody.
That is him, man. So this is our first episode, so excuse us if we're a little, not great, but we're going to try to entertain you. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. This podcast talking about anything gaming. Old, new, shooters to RPGs, AAA titles to the smallest of indies.
Whatever interests us, basically.
Exactly.
Our goal is to entertain you as well as inform.
And entertain us, exactly.
Yes.
We just want to entertain anybody and everybody. Yeah. So if you're listening on YouTube, which I hope you do, I assume he does as well.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of the screen, you'll see little annotations. So if there's something you're not digging, if you don't want to hear us talk about, let's say, we're going to start off here because it's our first podcast talking about our gaming background and such. And so if you're not in the mood to hear that, just click the next annotation that leads you to the topic that's right after. You can go from there. So, you ready to go?
I am ready, sir.
Okay. So, we're going to talk about, like I said, our past in gaming. So, do you remember what your first game was? Honestly, I don't know.
No, I do. My first stone cold memory of any video game would have to be Mickey and Minnie's Great Circus Mystery for the Sega Genesis.
Really?
Yeah,
I have a similar one.
It was probably that one. To anyone who's not familiar with the Mickey games that were on Super Nintendo and Genesis, which I can't imagine you wouldn't be, that was in the era where Capcom was making Disney platform games.
Yeah, and that's something I'm also going to talk about. One of my earlier games, and that you had mentioned that, there was this really fun game. I remember it's really hard. I can't remember the name because I didn't even think about talking about it until you brought it up. It's like a Mickey Mouse game. It's for the NES, and it's kind of like a platform game. Wish I could remember it because I really liked it and it was super hard. Do you remember it?
Did you play as Mickey, or was it just he was just in it?
No, I think you did play as Mickey.
Oh.
I don't know.
Because there was the Mickey, it wasn't like Mickey, but it was, you go to Disneyland and you go to the different rides, and the different rides were like levels.
I did hear about that one too.
That was one of my first NES games because, when you're 4 and you don't really have like a game knowledge, all you really had was, well, whatever my family was younger, so they got whatever games they were interested in. But for me, it would be anything that would be something I recognized. So while my first game was Mickey Mouse, like Power Rangers, I had a lot of Power Ranger games, stuff like that. So they got me the Disneyland game. Oh my god. One of the first, it was like Mega Man, because it was another Capcom one. It's probably one of the few bad ones that Capcom made. It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was classic Nintendo. You never played it, you said.
It's just not ring a bell.
You would go through the different rides, and every level would be based off a ride. So you'd have like the Pirates of the Caribbean level, and you'd have the Big Thunder.
Pirates of the Caribbean level?
Yeah, well, the original ride. So you'd be going through.
Is that what that was based off of?
Yeah. You silly goose.
Mind blown.
Gage is a silly goose.
I'm like, for your information, sir, that movie did not come out till way later.
That movie did not come out in 1989 when the game was made, sir.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, you go through Pirates of the Caribbean, you go through Haunted Mansion, and it's, I say Mega Man style because at the time that's the only thing you could relate to, where you pick your level that you start off in.
Oh, okay.
But it's a hub, so what you start out on is you got the map of Disneyland, and it's not like an accurate map. I think for the time it's semi accurate.
Well, I never went to Disneyland, so I believe
I didn't either. Okay, especially not in 1989.
No, because maybe you weren't born.
Anyway, very hard game. Maybe go into detail on that later. But
yeah, one of my things was, and I'm going to go into this later in this episode because it's our last big topic. We're going to be talking about the 25th anniversary, the big 25th birthday of the Game Boy.
What was your first game? Was it Game Boy related?
And it was.
Okay.
The reason is that I don't necessarily remember it was the first game, but it was one of the main games that really got me into gaming. My aunt was pregnant with my cousin, and so her husband got her a Game Boy, like the big, huge Game Boy from back in the day.
Oh, the brick one, the original? Yeah. Oh, I had that one too.
And got her Kirby's Dream Land. And I played it all the time, and I got better. I played it more, and I finally remember beating it, but I play that game all the time. And that is one of the main ones that got me into gaming, because I loved it. Like, Kirby was really my first one, even before Mario and that kind of thing. My first system, though, was... that is rough. I mean, obviously, my parent... well, not obviously, you don't fucking know, but my mom had an NES. I just can't fucking say that tonight. I keep wanting to say NNES because the SNES, but yeah, I mean, both my parents were into gaming. My dad was a huge Legend of Zelda fan. He had to buy the old ass Nintendo guide because he just could not beat it. Because
Nintendo Power or the actual strategy guides
like
they came
back
out
in
with?
the day, and I have it because my cousin had it, and it's somewhere in this basement. Some people know what I'm talking about. It was a thick Nintendo book, and it said like Nintendo Power Guide, or maybe not Power Guide, but it was a guide, and it had nothing to do with Nintendo Power. And it was just a big guide that had maps for all different Nintendo NES games.
I think I know, like, the Angry Video Game Nerd or someone like that brought it up.
He did, yes.
So I think that's why I saw that.
And he has notes in his and that kind of stuff.
Yes, okay.
And so, they had an NES. I would play. My mom is still to this day a huge Bubble Bobble fan. I love that game, too. It's nice, little, silly game to play.
I used to play that one all the time.
And I really liked it. But I think my first real system that I can really remember was the Super Nintendo, which was mine. Because I got the Super Nintendo as a gift for my whole family for Christmas. And then I got Donkey Kong Country 2. Not the first one, but the second one. Because I think my parents are divorced, and I think my dad had one. And I had played it there, and I brought it. I talked to my mom and stuff, and my mom's side of the family. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And he played games, Gaia, or something, Legends of Gaia, I don't know.
Yeah, Legend of Gaia. I'm pretty sure that's what yes.
And he'd always play that, and I remember that vividly. And
the RPG, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he'd play some other games, and I had systems at both houses. The Super Nintendo at my mom's house was pretty much mine. The one at my dad's I shared with my stepsisters and my dad, and they had their Mario Paint, which was always interesting, because we didn't really mess around with the Mario Paint part, but did you ever play Mario Paint?
I played it. I had the mouse and everything. I think that's one of the few of my system pieces that is lost, is just the frickin' Mario Paint mouse. I never got into it. There's
this one mini game, and it's the only real actual game in there.
Oh, the fly swatting one.
Oh, and then there's the big B boss. But yeah, I just went through my closet upstairs. You don't have me on Instagram, but I had put this a couple months ago. I just go in there, and apparently I just had my old Super Nintendo in my closet.
Really?
Yeah, and I know I'm not sure if it was your first big console, but I know that you still have a Super Nintendo with so many games. I wouldn't say hundreds, but like at least like 100.
It's something like that, because I remember our friend had an apartment, and we had just dug out my old Super Nintendo, and I had this bin, and I was like, oh, I got a lot of games. We'll have plenty of fun in games. Fucking Gage is like, he's not gonna have that many. And then I just open up this tote, and it's like opening up the Ark of the Covenant at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. My friend's face melted off, and people's heads are exploding.
Exactly, it was great. What was your first console that you had?
Well, okay, here's the thing. My grandpa enjoyed playing the Atari, so we had an Atari in our house.
Oh, that's cool.
We had systems in our house because of my aunts. But my console that I can remember playing first was that Sega Genesis.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't know if I had the Super Nintendo at the same time, because that would have been when I was about 3 years old.
Yeah, the Genesis, my family was never a Sega family. Well, my household, my immediate family was never Sega. My cousin, he had a Sega Genesis. I'm like, oh my god. And I remember just and this we'll talk about later, me being introduced to Let's Plays.
Okay.
But I would just sit there and watch him play Lion King.
Over Sega?
Yeah, and then I eventually played the one for SNES. But yeah, we didn't really have Segas at all.
That I can, for whatever reason, that was my system. I had the game that I mentioned before, the Mickey Mouse game, which I also had for Super Nintendo. Because, fuck it, I guess. We would just get doubles. I had that one, and there is a Power Rangers fighting game.
Interesting.
There's two different Power Ranger fighting games, everybody out there in internet land, that I can really remember off the top.
You could tell me, okay, there are two. I'd be like, okay.
The sky's green, Gage. Oh, okay, Nicky.
Yeah.
No, to the best of my knowledge, there's two. There's probably more. And there's a super street fighting Power Ranger fighter. It's like, shut the fuck up.
It was only available in Europe.
Yes. No, that I had growing up, I had this one for the Sega Genesis called, I'm pretty sure it was just called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then I had Power Rangers the Tournament Fighter, which came out after the movie.
Okay.
So there was two differences. The one for Sega Genesis, you played as the Rangers and a few monsters. I think you played... I think Goldar is the only one I can remember, and there was this one broad that looked like fucking Rita, but it wasn't.
Just one broad.
I don't. None of them were monsters that were like recognizable from the show.
There's gonna be if a woman ever listens to this, she's not gonna be happy.
Hey, I'm a traditional man with traditional values.
Shut up.
But the key differences between the two were that one was more fun. The Sega Genesis one, there was actually like a story mode where you go through and Rita's sending down the monsters. It was like an episode of the show.
Interesting.
And that's one of the key things I remember. And then you had the Tournament Fighter. Now that one you played as the Zords.
Okay, I'm not a Power Ranger guy, but I kind of know who those are.
Well, I'd hope, God damn it, we're from the 90s. I'd hope you know what a Zord is.
Yeah.
Who did you all play as? You played as the Shogun Zord, the Ninja Zord from the movie. I don't believe I'm going to get so much hate.
Who cares?
But anyway, they were two completely different style games, and I remember playing those and beating them a lot as a kid because I was so big on that.
See, I played a lot of stuff based on, Disney movies. I was a huge... the Lion King game was amazing. I don't think I ever beat it as a kid. I think I beat it a couple years back, but I never beat it as a kid. It was super hard once you got later on in the levels. Wow, just talking about this brings back memories. This is weird. I think I've forgotten all about this game. I think there might have been a Pinocchio game or something.
Yes! Oh my god!
I
had it for the Sega.
I don't know why this popped into my head. I guess because I'm talking about those. I literally, all of a sudden, that game popped in my head just now. Like, I have not thought about it since I played it as a kid. But all of a sudden, it popped in my head. Oh my god, wow, weird.
I don't remember it being good though.
I don't remember. I'm gonna look that up after this. I also was a huge the Aladdin games. I know you probably played the Sega one.
I played both of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, some people like the Sega one more. I never really played it. I think I really enjoyed the SNES one.
Oh yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, this was actually very uncommon even back then. You would get, at least for Aladdin, I can't think of. I'm sure there are other games.
Yeah,
like
there
that.
are. I can't think of. But it wasn't. It was definitely uncommon.
Basically,
it didn't happen all the time, but it would.
Basically, you had Aladdin, but for Sega, it was made by Virgin, the old record store company, and the Super Nintendo one was made by Capcom.
Yeah.
You had two completely different developers and two completely different games.
There was this other game. I don't remember that much because I could never get far in it, but there was Goof Troop game for the SNES. And I didn't get far in it because I just remember it being so damn hard. But I'm going to have to look back into that.
It was I remember playing when
it was like a top-down kind of thing.
It was a puzzle game where you had to push the blocks and get the way out of the level.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I remember we played it a little bit. The aforementioned bin of video games, we busted that one out and we played it for a little bit. Remember, you have to push the blocks aside. You have a couple guys running around, and it's a top-down perspective. And you can play as Max or Goofy.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And
I used to play that game all the time with my mom.
Donkey Kong Country 2 was one of my favorites. Like, it was great. To this day, I'm still not a huge fan of the first one. The second one, I think, is far superior.
Out of the three, I'm going to have to agree with you. I played the first one more because I was a Donkey Kong fan. The character, not the game series. I worded that terribly, but I think you guys understand what I mean.
Yeah.
I like the second one a lot more because the pirate. I'm going to be completely honest. It was the pirate theme, and I'm 5. And
pirates are pretty great.
I had the Great Adventures Pirates and all that, so it was neat.
Yeah, that word is hilarious. I love when people use it. Neat.
Shut up.
Funny word. But yeah.
No.
So, anything else on the SNES you can think of? Other than the fact that it was, I mean, we could be here all day, to be honest.
Yeah,
But any other major things you can think of?
Oh, God. Here's one that I can remember. This will probably set off my whole console. This is when I became a lover for video games. There was 2 games I got. One was Batman Returns, the arcade beat-em-up style game for Konami. If anyone's ever played it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, find a way to play it. Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo.
I'm not saying emulation, but, you know. If you were to Google it.
But I'll never forget this Christmas. There was this giant box, and I was told to open it last. And I go to open it up, and there's this game with this big yellow space robot thing on it, and it just said Earthbound. And I'll never forget that Christmas.
Too bad you don't still have that cartridge, or do ya?
Oh, I still have it, and I still have the strategy guide.
Remind me to steal that from you, because that's worth a lot of money.
That's why I have guns.
Okay.
It's to fend off my friend Gage.
Fucking SNES! I'll shoot a motherfucker who tries to steal my SNES collection.
You can take my money, you can take my dog, but I'll be damned if you take my Earthbound cartridge.
Take our lives, but they'll never take our SNES games!
That one's probably my proudest.
Okay.
And we gotta cut this off because I will keep going on about Super Nintendo.
So that's kind of where we're gonna end it for today for the SNES in our gaming past. Next time we'll go more into N64 and PlayStation 1 and that kind of stuff. So.
Oh god, that's good memories right there.
Oh yeah,
teaser.
Exactly. But anyway, so what have you been playing lately?
Lately, I've been playing 2 games fairly consistently, if I may.
Alright, tell me the first one.
Okay, well, the one that's been sucking up the most of my time is Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Is that one available on the Wii U? Because I remember...
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, the Wii U version, I believe, has a couple more...
They have, like, costumes and stuff,
yeah,
right?
One of the elements of the Tekken games, I think since the 5th one, is you can customize your character, and for the Wii U version, they have, there's a character named Alex, who's a boxing velociraptor. It makes sense if you know Tekken. And you can dress him up like King, I almost said King Koopa and just ruined every bit of credibility I gained. No, Bowser.
Yeah.
You can give him Bowser's haircut.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is really cool. Is it any good?
I enjoy it. I used to play it when I was about 10. I used to play Tekken 3 quite a bit, and it was one of my favorite fighters next to Mortal Kombat.
I haven't played a whole lot of Tekken. I know there was the PS3 has like a free version of Tekken, right?
Tekken Revolution. I've never played it.
I've played a little bit. I think it's fun. I mean, obviously, it's from what I've played, it's kind of like a stripped down version.
Yes.
Because I think it's a lot of in-app or in-game purchases or something like that, because it's free, and I think...
I'll be completely honest, I haven't played it. I did a little bit of research on it, because when I get into a game, I'll go on the wiki, especially like a big game like that. Oh, yeah,
me too.
Like, I'll just dick around and be like, oh, okay, who's this character, who's this? And I was like, Tekken Revolution, because I saw it in the PSN store. And... It's getting good reviews. I mean, you get about 4 characters that you can play as, and you go through and you fight the computer. And it's supposed to be fun. I don't remember this from back when I played Tekken as a kid, but also back in those days, you aren't playing a fighting game the same way you would now. But I've been playing a lot of Midway, or as they're known now, NetherRealm games. because my favorite fighter was always Mortal Kombat. Now, Mortal Kombat is more of a projectile-based game.
Good stuff.
Yes. Same with Injustice, because it's the same people. Now, when you're going to Tekken, it's more of combos.
Okay.
So it's...
Is there juggling in it?
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of juggling.
I believe that is one of the core mechanics, because you can just do these crazy combos and keep hitting people.
Speaking of fighting games, now we'll talk about it in a little bit, but we're going to be talking about Skullgirls Encore in a little bit, and that's great. I can't wait to talk about that. But
if I may, my last game that I just beat it today.
Hold on, is there another game?
Yeah, I told you.
Okay, hold on. Let me talk about something.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no problem, man. But yeah, something I've been playing lately. These are just two small games I'm going to mention real quick, and then you can say, and we'll go a little back and forth.
Oh, sure.
Desktop Dungeons is really fun. It's like
I've never heard of it.
It's an indie game. It's a top-down. It's an RPG, definitely, but it's they call it like a coffee break game, because you can play for a couple minutes, and it's really a lot of fun. I'll have to show you. And there's different. It's a really fun game. Definitely, I think it's still on sale on Steam for half off. For anybody, I'm not talking a whole lot about it, but it's definitely a lot of fun. Go check it out. But Pokemon Trozei came out a while ago. And now it's a puzzle game, kind of like Bejeweled. It's a match 3 game, but it's not like you slide left and right. You're like battling these Pokemon. It's a really interesting way. Like if you're fighting like a Charizard,
right?
If you match up 3 Blastoise and then do a whole lot of combos, it deals more damage because it's a water attack and that kind of stuff. And it's definitely a fun thing, and it has all Pokemon, like all Pokemon from Gen 1 all the way up to the current gen. And
really.
Yeah, which is super cool. I know you're not a huge Pokemon guy.
Not at all.
No, I mean, you played way back in the day. I'm excited for the the re-releases of Ruby and Sapphire, yes. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Those are definitely going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, you're not a huge Pokemon guy, but we'll talk more about that another time. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. It's just one of those games you can play for a little bit and then close your 3DS and then come back later,
Yeah, I can see where that would be appealing.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from.
And before I cut back to you, one more thing. I've been playing Stick of Truth. Now, have you beaten it yet?
I beat it. I really...
Obviously, don't ruin anything. I've gotten way farther than when we last talked about it.
We're not going to spoil anything on here. If you haven't played it, go out and do it.
Go to a red box. Just pick it up. It's definitely a lot of fun.
You know what? It's more worth a rental. Well, here's the thing.
I'm having a lot of fun with it, man.
It's very in-depth. Like, there's a lot of different shit you can do.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. It does have collectathon things in it.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I know you're not a huge RPG guy, but if you're enjoying it...
Yes. That was a point I was going to make. I have liked 3 RPGs, not including Stick of Truth, in my time. Earthbound, Super Mario RPG, which I've actually beaten.
Which is a surprise if you don't know this guy, which most of you don't. He doesn't beat games.
No.
He gets to the end and then does not beat them. But we'll talk about that later.
One time with frickin' not Majora's Mask, Wind Waker.
Yeah, bastard.
And I keep getting shit for it. But Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario, which I didn't beat. But just again, proving my friend's point. Because I prefer the non-traditional ones. I think a lot of these JRPG, that's a whole... I'm not a big RPG guy. We'll get into that another day. I prefer the non-traditional stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a friend who is not a huge fan of it. He thinks it's funny, but there's this one mechanic, and I haven't had any problem with it. There's the fart mechanic where you throw... Later on in the game, you get the power of farts, which... That's not really a spoiler. It's a South Park game. You knew you would expect something weird later on. And I don't know about you, but I'm having not a huge problem throwing my farts. Like, eventually you throw your farts, and he said he's having this huge problem.
I'll be honest, because you never have to use them, right?
Well, not really.
Outside of battle, you do, but you never have to use them in battle. It's not like there's an enemy that you can only beat by using the fart magic.
Yes.
After the tutorial, I never used it because of how bad it frustrated me, the controls. And
now he's talking outside battles.
Oh, he's talking outside battles?
There's this part where you have to... I haven't gotten to it where... I've gotten to part of it, but you have to scare these guys into a truck or scare them away. I don't remember. It was a while ago when I was playing that part.
Yes.
And long story short, but he was having an issue with it. He said the controls are too rough, and I wasn't having a problem with it. So, I mean, were you having any, excuse me, problems with it outside of battle?
No. It was more during the tutorials that it was just frustrating because you have to get the timing right.
There's definitely some things in that game that I'm having issues with, like some of the butter spinning hammer move. It took me a while to get that, and
there's a couple moves where you have to do the with the rotation and everything. You don't really know the timing.
Yeah.
But just my recommendation is get into a lot of random encounters and then just get some practice, because at least towards the beginning of the game, when you first start out, you'll be fighting a lot of the elves. That's not a spoiler.
No, of course, that's right at the beginning.
That's right away. That's your first. You're fighting the other kids. That's when you should really work on getting the attack controls built up.
Oh, yeah.
And learning the timing and everything.
Now, Stick Truth, I've played a lot of it so far. I do a lot of the side quests. I know that you really don't do that because you're not a huge RPG guy. And I know our friend doesn't do that either. But no, I do a lot of the side quests, and
I did most of them.
Okay.
I did most of them. I plan on going back for a second playthrough, so after a little while I was like, fuck it, I'll just finish it later.
Now, is this a game... Now, this is how we can... Well, I'm not a kind of guy who likes number ratings or star ratings. I like more practical, and I've heard people use this rating system before, and I like it. So is this the kind of game that you'd rent it, buy it, or pass on it? To me, I feel like you rent it, and if you're into it, definitely buy it. Because there's definitely a lot of play stuff, a lot of side stuff you can do.
It plays extremely well. You see, it's one of those games that you're gonna have fun with it. But if you don't understand that it's South Park, and you have to be a fan of South Park's humor.
That's the kind of way I see it, yeah. Like, there's this one part where you open a door, and this dude is wearing a sadomasochism mask, fucking a horse.
He's the gimp from fucking Pulp Fiction. Well, that's making fun of when in every other role-playing game you can just go into people's houses.
Yeah.
And you can just steal their shit.
Yeah, I mean, but there's this part where you open the door, he's fucking a horse, and then he slams the door in your face. So, yeah, though it's definitely a very raunchy game, but you just kind of got to know that going in.
Yeah, so. If for some reason you don't think a game about South Park with an M rating on the box is going to be vulgar, then you have no business buying it.
Yeah. So what would you rate it?
Like overall, I would say buy it if you're a fan and you don't mind that it's a short game.
Yeah.
Because if you just plow through and do the main story, it's gonna take you 8 hours.
Which really isn't that short. I mean, it's short, but compared to a lot of other games lately,
man, in this day and age, and if you only got money to buy one game every couple months, in my opinion, I believe that, especially an RPG should last you 20 hours at a minimum.
Yeah, but to me, this is not really supposed to be. It's really supposed to just kind of be like a long South Park episode, which is funny.
Yes.
And I mean,
but would you pay $60 to watch a long, really good South Park
Correct, you're right.
episode?
I mean, this is the kind of game that
it brings up a lot of debate.
I'd say rent it first and check it out. If you like it, definitely buy it. I think if they put it at like a $39.99 price, I'd say it's a buy. Like,
oh god, yeah, $39 or like anywhere from $20 to $40.
See, $20 to me seems too low. I think $40 is like the perfect because it has just enough content. $40, but we could talk about that game all day. So yeah. So we both talk about it.
Overall, I'd say buy it because it is fun and it plays. And
I think it's really funny. There's some parts where I'm like, laughing my ass off.
Not to get into any spoilers, but there's so much shit in there. Because it's written by Matt and Trey. You'll be laughing.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be laughing.
Definitely. So, what was the other game you said you were gonna...
that's the other game I was playing? Yeah. I finally finished Fear 3. I'm a bit late to the party on this.
I'm not a huge fan of horror games because I literally just... I get freaked out real easy. You know that, and
Yes.
it'd be freaking me out. So
Are you familiar with the Fear series at all?
I am vaguely. I've heard of the series. I know some of its
anyone
mechanics.
that doesn't know, Fear is this shooter series. I think that came out in about 2007, 2006, something like that. Right around the Xbox, like end of PS2 area, right? It's always been this. It's a shooter with strong horror elements. I'm not going to sum up the storyline because I'm not going to put through that much time.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
The first two play very well. As far as shooters go, they have very strong mechanics. The enemies are probably some of the smartest enemies I've fought in a shoot. Oh god, they will actually knock over tables and shit and push them,
cool.
And that's not scripted. That's not a scripted
By
sequence.
that, do you mean like they actually lift the table, or they just walk and it pushes the table out of the way?
No, you'll see them drive their shoulder into a table and take cover.
That's cool.
And if you die and you respawn in the same area, there's a chance they won't do that. There's a chance that they'll do something else. It's very adaptive tactic, because you can do that too, at least in Fear 2. One of the core mechanics of the game is that you can slow down time, so it has a very John Woo Matrix action feel to it, which makes it very fun. It plays well. The first two do. The first two play extremely well. And the first two were genuinely scary because there's psychic possession and ghost overtones and people getting pulled by by nothing, by psychic willpower, and you'll just hear like a little girl crying out, "No, don't hurt me anymore!" And you'll just see a guy explode. It's fucked. It is fucked up. I'm not saying that it's not. The second one especially, because graphics and everything, make it better. Then we get to Fear 3. Now, I don't believe the same developers were on for Fear 3. Are
you you're just?
I'm assuming because I didn't look into it that much. I know Monolith developed the first two. I don't believe they developed the third one. I believe it was a different company. But it plays. There's a bunch of subtle changes to the third one that I don't like. Traditional shooters nowadays, you only can carry 2 guns because they consider that realistic, even though you're doing fucking ninja kicks in this game and slowing down time. Yeah. Oh, but he can only carry 2 guns.
That's why I'm a huge Borderlands fan.
This guy. In the first 2 Fear games, you could have your arsenal of 4. Okay. And that's reasonable, because then you're like, okay, I got my shotgun, I got my machine gun, I got my rocket launcher, and I got my specialty. This game you have to choose, and none of the guns are really much better than the other. Okay. It plays well. It plays like a good shooter, but they were forgetting what makes Fear. And I was ready to say that Fear was probably one of my preferred newer franchises. Okay. And then this third one comes along, and they shit on the storyline, in my opinion. It's prettier. It's gorier, but that doesn't mean scary. Just because you have a guy sitting there who's been sliced in half and his guts are all hanging out and there's crazy blood writing all over the walls, that is not scary. Yeah. Scary is going down a black corridor and just you can hear voices trembling and ghosts are coming out and you're trying to shoot them and you feel helpless. Because one of the big criticisms I've heard about the Fear games is, well, you're a shooter, you're a soldier, you're this unstoppable killing machine. You can slow down fucking time. You're Neo from the Matrix. How can you be scared? Here's how they do it. Your ghost enemies, you have to pump so many fucking bullets into them. Uh-huh. And if you take someone's power away from them, if you take the one chance of hope they have, that's terrifying. Because when you're a soldier and your weapons mean nothing to these enemies, you're screwed.
If anything, sometimes that'd be more scary. Like they build you up to be this big guy, this big this unbeatable guy, and then doing that, like
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what they do in the first two. In the third one, they don't do that. They're just like, oh, here's the big scary demon thing that makes no sense as far as the storyline's going. Where are these demons coming from? It disappointed me. It really made me sad.
Yeah.
All in all. Play Fear 2. Don't bother
with that, people. Fear 2. Give Fear 2.
Fear 2 Project Origin. That's a great game.
The last thing I'm going to talk about is Mario Golf 3DS. Toadstool something, I don't know. Fucking the Mario Golf game for the 3DS I picked up. And I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it. World Tour is what it's called. Mario Golf World Tour. And, like I mentioned to you earlier, they're finally, they've done DLC for other games like Fire Emblem and other kind of games. But, this is their first season pass. And obviously, we've talked about it, and other companies have done it. But I think it's really cool that Nintendo is doing the season pass where they not only do you get everything from, all the DLC that will be coming out, plus they give you an extra character. They give you Gold Mario, and he gets lots of coins, which means you can buy more stuff. And I think that's cool. Like, and there are probably other games that do it, but I think Nintendo's starting off in a good foot and being like, if you're going to buy the season pass, that is amazing. Now, here's one more thing. A lot of people are like, oh, there's I can't, there's DLC for this game, and it just came out, and that kind of stuff. But you think about it, this game, most 3DS games are how much?
3DS? That's usually about 30 right? Or 40, right? Yeah.
Most of them are 40.
Most of them are 40 now?
Okay. And every once in a while, you'll get a $30 game if it's a budget game or something like that. And this game is not a budget game, but it is $30. And so you buy the season pass for $15. So you're paying, $5 more than most like any 3DS game. If you also are buying the season pass, you're getting almost double the content. So you're getting as much content for like 2 3DS games for an extra $5, and you don't even have to buy the season pass. So that's $30 for that, and I think that's great. I think Nintendo is taking good steps to. The 3DS market is amazing. It's selling like hotcakes, as they say, and the games for it I think are great. You recently got a 3DS.
I did.
You enjoying it?
Yeah, I bought a lot of older DS games because I want to save my money, so I'm like, okay.
Definitely.
I bought about 3 cheaper DS games.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the system. I will admit I have to play it more, but I enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've really never been much of a handheld guy. No, so, that's why I was surprised when you got it, but trust me, when Smash Brothers comes out...
That's the reason I bought it.
Yeah, we will be playing for a long time. But yeah, that's kind of what we've been playing recently. So yeah, definitely check out the games we've mentioned because they are a lot of fun.
But not Fear 3.
Not Fear 3, apparently. Fear 2, I guess. Fear 2.
Yes.
And here's a segment that we're going to be doing every once in a while. Now, I have PlayStation Plus. I just found out today he also has PlayStation Plus.
I did sign up. And after your recommendations, good sir.
Exactly. And back in the day, he's like, oh, I'm not getting it. It's a ripoff. And it definitely is worth it. And now here's something you'll learn about us. Not saying I don't like Xbox, but I'm more of a Sony guy. I'm also a huge Nintendo guy. And Nicky, he is an Xbox 360 guy, but it's not like he doesn't like PS3. He owns a PS3, so it's not like he doesn't like Sony. So I'm like the Nintendo and Sony guy. He, to me, is like the Microsoft and Sony guy.
Yes.
And it's not saying I don't like Xbox. I've owned an Xbox at a time, and I had fun with it. But I've always, when I got, something we'll talk about later is I had gotten a PlayStation 1, skipped over the PlayStation 2, and then I got a PSP, and I just loved it. But
God, you played that thing all the time.
I know.
Everywhere this fucker went, he had his PSP with him. Everywhere.
Exactly. And that was during the time I kind of took a break from Nintendo.
Yes.
Because a lot of stuff with the Wii I wasn't a huge fan of. But PlayStation Plus offers free games. Like every month. They offer, I think, like 4 free games every month. And when one intrigues us, one that we think would be fun to talk about, we're going to bring it up. And, obviously, we're not trying to be like, oh, Sony's great. I mean, I enjoy them. Obviously, this first episode, and we don't. People always assume, like, are you sponsored? Like, obviously, fucking not.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm getting paid boatloads of money.
Boatloads of money.
Hey, Gage, you don't mind taking me home later, though, because I don't have a car to buy with all my sponsorship money.
Exactly. But one that they just recently released for PlayStation Plus that you can download free if you have PlayStation Plus is Skullgirls Encore. Skullgirls is an indie-developed fighter. It came out a while ago, and they re-released it as an encore because the short story is they were with a publisher, and the publisher didn't want to continue to release their game or something like that, or the Skullgirls team wanted something else, and they were disagreeing with the publisher, so they had to take off Skullgirls from the PlayStation and Xbox markets. I think it might have still been available on PC. But then they added some more stuff and got some new characters and put it back together.
Because of a crowdfunding campaign, they were able to
get more characters. Yeah, but that's, I mean, they would have re-put it up anyways as Skullgirls Encore. And downloaded it the other day. Played it a little bit today. I had a lot of fun.
That was my first time actually playing the game itself.
And I know I've heard you talk about it a lot. You know, that you always wanted to try it. I had played the demo. You know, and before I let you go,
No, go ahead.
I just, I told you, I was just dumbfounded. The art is amazing. It is such a beautiful game. The background, the characters, it is just so beautiul. Yeah. So,
it has one of the most unique art styles I've seen in a game in a long time.
I think it's great. Plus,
it's this hand-drawn type of animation that has it has some anime influence, but also classic cartoons.
It has like a little bit of aspects of like Darkstalkers. I kind of can see like a Darkstalkers vibe.
Play style, definitely.
Yeah. Plus like the interesting characters, kind of like Darkstalkers, and
not very common character designs.
Yeah. And I know that with the DLC characters, like what they're doing is they're releasing a new DLC character that it's free to download for a short period of time, and then you have to go back, and if you didn't download it during that short period of time, you have to pay like $5 for it or something. But I think that's cool. And especially for free. Like, it has one of the best tutorials for a fighting game ever. Like, I mean, you've seen it.
It's very in-depth. I started playing it, and I couldn't get past a move because I guess my skills aren't good enough.
No, of course not.
No, I suck. And I ended up dropping off because I was, I'm going to beat that tutorial first.
I mean, and he's talking about, like, the demo. Like, you know, well, I have you had mentioned that. Oh, I thought you had played it. Well, you said today was the first time you played it.
Today was the first game first time I played a match.
Yeah, just so I can, clarify for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I had played the demo and messed around with the tutorial way back. And I mean, you had introduced me to. I was never a huge fighter guy, and you had got me into Mortal Kombat. You're like, just play it, man, just play it. And I got into it.
The newest one.
Yeah.
The newest one that just came out a few years ago.
And then I got really big into fighters for a while, and I still enjoy a good fighter. I mean, I bought Darkstalkers. I love the characters of Darkstalkers. I think those are probably the best characters for me that I enjoy. But Skullgirls is definitely right after that. I had
a lot of fun with it. And I've been playing fighters since I was a little kid.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was, I don't want to continue to reiterate myself, but it was a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. I mean, something I've never seen in another fighting game, not saying it hasn't existed, was where you can, let's say me and you are fighting like we had done,
right.
And I chose 2 characters, and you chose 1 character. So your 1 character can fight my 2 characters. Now, obviously, my 2 characters switch off, but his character is extra powerful, so, like, my 2 characters still equal out when it comes to, like, health and attack and stuff to his 1 character. But sometimes, you might want to just play with 1 style and this style, and I think that is awesome.
It was one of the most interesting mechanics of the game.
Yeah, and you can do it for up to 3 different characters against, 1 character, and I think that is awesome.
And it was very evenly matched. Gage and I had a fight where I picked the character that kind of resembled like old-timey cartoon characters. I can't remember her name, but she has the robot arms.
And she got like Mickey Mouse gloves.
She has got the Mickey Mouse gloves and eyes, the classic saucer eyes. Anyone that is familiar with the game knows what I'm talking about. Maybe we should post a picture. Here's a picture of the character.
No, that is not what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
But, this is something I didn't mention to you. I'm going to link trailers and everything, everything we've talked about. So.
Okay. So I'm playing as just her, and Gage is playing as about 2 different characters, and at first I'm like, oh, bro, you're going to kick my ass. He's like, no. And then he explained to me the system. He's like, it's okay.
And I think that is just so cool.
And I won. And it was... I had about a sliver of health.
I won the first time.
Yes, you whooped my ass the first time.
And then the second time you won, and third time you won. But almost all of them are like really close.
Because I played as Big Bad, the guy who fills the entire screen.
Yes, you cheapy bastard. But yeah, if you have PlayStation Plus, definitely go and download it. If you don't, I think.
Don't be cheap. Buy the fucking game.
I can't remember. I think it's like probably $20. I think. Maybe.
I feel like it's about 20.
And
it's too popular to be just a $10 one.
Yeah.
Maybe 15. But it's either 15 or 20.
Yeah, I mean, would you if you did not get it free through PlayStation Plus, would you pick it up?
Of course, I did. I did before the Encore system even came out. That's how much I say you have to get.
Yeah, it looks like it's $14.99. So $14.99.
That's perfect. That you're getting. Yeah, you're not getting a character roster you would get in something like Tekken.
Obviously,
or Mortal
there's not a whole lot of characters.
But you're getting original characters. It's by a small group of people.
An amazing tutorial. If you're not a huge fighter fan, if you just can't find a game to get into it, definitely check out, and the tutorial will teach you, and not just for this game, but for other, fighting games. It'll help you, so.
I have one knock on it. Just one.
Okay.
And it's fairly minor. In fact, I didn't even have the problem when we were actually fighting.
Okay.
I feel that the game would benefit much more if you had a fighting stick. Now, to people that don't know what that is...
Oh, well, if they're listening to this podcast, I'd assume they know what a fighting stick. A big thing.
Hey, you never know.
Kind of like it's like an arcade. Like, when you go to an arcade, you see a thing, you got the stick and the buttons. Yeah, definitely. But,
because there's certain combos, the way they're set up, it would just be uncomfortable to be hitting shoulder buttons. You'd want to have your flat surface and your joystick.
Definitely. And that's something that I can't really fault the game. I just think fight sticks are great, and I should pick one up. I've played with them before, and just great for fighting games.
Yes.
Obviously. Because they're called fight sticks, pretty much. So
such a dick. Go get Skullgirls.
Yeah.
In the end, get Skullgirls. It's worth the money.
Oh yeah, and that is something every once in a while when a new game for PlayStation Plus comes around, we will talk about it. Another thing we enjoy here, and I remember introducing him to it, are gaming bundles. Where you can get a certain amount of games for relatively cheap, and that is something that I've been buying forever. My Steam library is like 260, 70 games because I've bought in so many bundles, and I love them because I can get a lot of games for cheap. Currently, and whenever there's a bundle, and we will talk about it, unless we haven't heard about it, but Humble Indie Bundle, the Humble Bundle site, I'd say to be best bundles. Like always get.
It's the most popular, and you're also going to be getting some of the biggest games.
Oh, yeah.
Just recently, they had Saints Row 3.
Yeah, that had Saints Row 3 and all the DLC.
Yes.
And the way it works is, in case you're new, you can pay your own price. So you pay at least $1. You can pay less, but you won't get, like, Steam keys. You'll just get the DRM if they offer DRM, which they do for a lot of stuff. But you pay as cheap as $1 and you get all these games. I think Saints Row 3... for like $1, I mean, why would you ever pass that up? And that's what's great about it. I mean, I remember introducing you to some bundles. You're like, oh man, that's really cool.
You showed me the Humble Bundle before I ever knew what it was. And at first I'm like, this seems like bullshit. There's no way this could work.
Exactly. I remember that because you're like, and this was a long time ago, so he didn't have a debit card, and he had to ask a family member to use their debit card, and he's like, she's going to think I'm full of shit, because who's going to believe that you can get all these games for like a fucking $1? And the way it works is if you pay more, sometimes they'll offer more games if you pay what the average price is.
Like a whopping $5.
Yeah, and in some cases you get Saints the Third or whatever.
Saints Row the Third.
For like $1, but if you want all the DLC, you pay like $5, and then you still get all these other games.
Just as a note, one of the DLCs in Saints Row the Third still is $10.
Yeah.
Do you realize how much money you're saving by getting these bundles? I mean, obviously you can't get that one anymore, but just in general, these are some of the best deals you'll ever encounter. If you haven't heard of them, check them out, man. Humble Bundle is one of the best sites around.
And I will link a lot of the bundle sites, but we'll always be bringing you bundles when we hear about them. Currently, the Humble Bundle website is doing daily bundles. Every day they're doing a different bundle, so I really can't tell you about it because by the time you hear it, it'll be a different bundle. But definitely check it out. They're doing I think for another week now, a little more than that, they're going to be doing bundles every day. And on top of that, they have a weekly bundle. Most bundles will go for like 2 weeks. And do you remember the first bundle you bought?
No, I just remember I got it for $0.01. I think Super Meat Boy was in it.
Yeah, and that was before you had to pay $1 to get Steam keys, which was...
Yeah, you just got Steam keys. Gage bought it for me for $0.01.
Yeah, right? That's what it was, yeah.
And I got 5 games.
And that was amazing. And now they also do Humble Weekly bundles. And this time, this is for another 3 days and 13 hours. It's a platforming game, so you get Shank 2, which is a lot of fun. Blocks That Matter, which is kind of like a Tetris mixed with Minecraft. That's a lot of fun. If you want to have an aneurysm, Bit Trip Runner is also.
Oh my god.
And so you can get all those games for like $0.01. If you want DRM, just the DRM download games. If you want the Steam keys, you pay like $1, which is still nothing. Now, if you pay at least $6, you get Bit Trip Runner 2, which is a lot of fun. Now, I have yet to buy this one, because most of the time I have a lot of the games, but I'm definitely going to get this one. It has Megabyte Punch, which looks like a lot of fun from what I've seen, and a game called Flyin', which looks like a lot of fun. Now, if you pay $10, if you pay $10, you got Shank 2, Blocks That Matter, 2 Bit Trip Runners, Megabyte Punch, Flyin', you'll get Mark of the Ninja, which is amazing. Have you played Mark of the Ninja?
I did. It's by the people that made Shank.
Yeah.
Same art style
and it is great. It's a special edition. Plus, you get King Arthur's Gold, which is kind of like a fighting multiplayer version of Terraria. So all those games for like $10, which is super cool. They also will do other bundles. So they're also having the Humble Book bundle. Isn't really gaming, but we'll talk about it. It's a bunch of Doctor Who comic books.
They do a lot of bundles. Book bundles.
Yeah, do they?
Shut up. Yeah, they do a lot of book bundles.
Now, we're just going to cover a little bit. We're huge Doctor Who fans.
Yes.
We are grade A Whovians, so that will eventually... Woo! And that'll definitely be talked about in
inside jokes, ladies and gentlemen,
in some of our podcasts, because it'll definitely you can't not talk about stuff and not somehow bring it back to Doctor Who. Now there's another bundle, Indie Royale, which is another fun website.
My main two are Humble Bundle and Indie Royale, and sometimes I dip into Indie Gala.
That as well. Indie Royale lately has been doing a lot of just kind of Desura games, which Desura is kind of like Steam. Everyone's heard of Steam, so I'm not going to explain it. But it's kind of like for more indie games. And the debut bundle has a lot of greenlight games, which are games that are being greenlit to be possibly made into games that are available on Steam. And this one's going on for like another 2 days. And it has a bunch of, super indie games. I haven't really heard of them, but I mean, for $2.49, you get all these great games. Plus, they're still offering more games that'll be, told before the end of the bundle. So.
Most of the time with Indie Royale, you're going to be getting less popular games.
Definitely.
Not meaning less in quality games. I'm talking more indie games. You're not going to get your big ones. You're not going to get fucking Half-Life in your Indie Royale. You might...
yeah, not anymore anyways, because they've been doing a lot of those. Yeah, and Indie Gala is probably the third really big one. And I just looked at this now. I wouldn't even think they have a bundle right now, but it looks like they have a lot of bundles going on right now.
Indie Gala, if you want just numbers to fill out your Steam library, go to Indie Gala. You will get like 10 fucking games plus DLC.
Exactly. And now this one actually, I recognize some of these games. You pay minimum of $1 and you get 3 games. Haven't really heard of them.
I bought this one.
I'm going to be buying this one. You pay a minimum of about $5. You get some more games. but which includes some games I actually heard of, like Rock Hard is a lot of fun. I have that one. Jolly Rover is a lot of fun. Evil Quest looks really interesting. I have to check that out.
I have Evil Quest for the Xbox because they released it in the indie game. You play as the villain.
Interesting. And it's like, that's really cool. I love games like that.
It's like original Zelda style, so you're going around and fighting people in a top-down perspective. I played it once, but it's an adventure action game.
Wow, that's cool.
They did a really good job with it. It's funny. It's really interesting. I recommend people pick it up, especially for
a couple bucks. I mean, and they also have some other bundles. I could sit here all day and continue talking about bundles.
Yeah. We got to cut this off, man. We're just going to be talking about these awesome games in the bundles.
There's 2 more bundles where you pay like literally $1.50, $2. You get a whole lot of games. So it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm going to list everything we talk about, whether it be trailers, this or that, in the description, website links, so you don't have to go searching.
Right.
So there is that. That'll be in the description. But, I mean, like I've said, those are just great. Who doesn't love a whole lot of games? Plus, like I said, I have a lot of games and I haven't played a lot, but it's nice to have them there just in case later on I'm like, something happens and all I have is my laptop. I have all these games. But another thing, which is super awesome, we mentioned it earlier, freaking Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And not Brawl, just Super Smash Bros.
Yeehaw.
Bum bum. But, I mean, the new Super Smash Bros. It's like, they should just put a fucking title on it. But, Super Smash Bros. 4. Are you excited?
I am pumped!
I'm actually really excited. I'm a huge fan of those games. Now, some people say this is stupid. I think it is the most genius thing Nintendo is doing.
You brought me over to it.
And they're releasing the 3DS version in the summer, and they're releasing the Wii U version holiday season or winter season. And a lot of people are like, I can't believe they're doing that. Why don't they? Obviously they might have to have a little bit more time on the Wii U version, but you think about it this way: for people who have a 3DS. And they have a Wii U, they're going to want to play Smash Brothers, obviously. So they're like, well, so me and my friends can play Smash Brothers, I'm going to pick it up for the 3DS so me and my friends can play. And then they'll play it a whole lot, and then the Wii U version will come out, and they'll be like, well, I want to play it with my friends on a huge HD screen. And so they'll rebuy that version, so they'll have 2 copies, which is great. That's how Nintendo's definitely going to make a lot of money.
And from what it sounds like, they're going to be different enough to where it warrants a rebuy.
That is something we'll talk about. There's different levels, different music. There's a game mode exclusive to the 3DS, which I'm so excited for.
Really?
Have we talked about it?
I don't know if we
have. I think
I
mentioned it to you. It's super cool, and I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, we'll bring it up.
And I think that's great. I'm a Wii U owner and a 3DS owner. I'm picking up both. And I think it's super cool because a lot of people who, it'll definitely be a Wii U system seller. No doubt. Like, would you disagree with me that it will sell consoles?
We are going to see such high numbers for the Wii U this Christmas season
which is amazing, especially since Mario Kart 8 is just around the corner, and that's also going to sell systems.
Oh, God, yeah.
But some of the new characters, Little Mac, that is great.
Oh my god!
How cool is that?
Oh my god! When I saw that, I cried. I squeaked like a small child.
I think it is so awesome that they're bringing back like Little Mac. Like, obviously they had to remake Punch Out on the Wii, but that is just so cool. I think. Have you seen stuff from him? Because
I watched his trailer where he knocks out Samus.
Yeah,
and I thought that was funny.
And because he has his like super power up punch that he can use, and I think that's really cool.
Straight from the game.
Which is funny is that's not his big smash. He turns into, now they can't call it Big Mac.
So it's Giga Mac.
And he turns, and that's super cool. And I can't wait for you to play as him. I'm definitely going to play as him.
He's the one character I've been wanting. Aside from
something, we'll talk about in a little bit.
Another major character that I'm like, why can't they just put this guy in here? You're going to put everyone else in here, but you're not going to put this guy in here?
So,
I've wanted Little Mac since, I'm like, who gives a shit about Roy and Marth? Give me my fucking Little Mac.
I mean, Marth now, at least there's a Fire Emblem game that a lot of people have been playing, so it,
Right.
But back then, so now we go to a least exciting character, the Wii Fit Trainer.
Woo!
Male and female.
I saw that. I like that they're doing that, though.
But it's like, who fucking, I mean, whatever. That's, I think, their lowest character. Like, they could have done something else. There's definitely other characters they could use.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But they probably put in there so they can sell Wii U Fit, So be like, what's this game from? And
think so?
Oh, yeah. But another character who is male and female, Villager. They just recently announced there's going to be female versions, which obviously is just going to be like a palette swap. Not a palette swap, but like
she's got longer hair, right?
Just, it actually looks like a girl,
Okay.
And I think that's really cool. I love that. There's this picture of him smashing Link over the head with a pot. It's like, revenge, because, Link's known for smashing pots. So I think that is great.
I just like all the memes for the Villager.
Yeah.
These are the eyes of a murderer. I like that shit.
I just cannot wait. And the other one that's their own character now, Charizard. So he does not have Pokemon Trainer. I know you were kind of iffy on that.
Well, that goes into a whole thing that now, if you haven't heard, one, shame on you, but we're going to talk about it anyway, is that anyone who, I'm pretty sure that this is pretty much everybody, that if you had a character that was 2 characters in one slot, with the exception of the Ice Climbers, that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Sheik, like I was going to bring up, Sheik and Zero Suit Samus are their own characters. Now, I think you said your problem was something along the lines of it should have a bigger character roster, and that kind of bugged you?
With Smash Brothers, and when I brought up Tekken Tag 2 earlier, one of the things I love about that game is that it literally has every single character that's ever been playable in a Tekken game, with the exception of one, and because it was a licensed character and they couldn't get the rights back. That's the only reason they couldn't get them back in. But every single character from a Tekken game is in there.
I mean, yeah, I totally get you.
That's so cool to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love giant character rosters. It doesn't make or break a game. Oh, he's being a hypocrite because he was saying Skullgirls was awesome. No, fucker, that's not what I'm saying.
I get you.
When you have a game like Smash Brothers that comes out maybe once every 6 years, there's no reason to cut the chuffa, if you will.
I mean, I understand it for certain reasons and balancing the game out, but I do understand what your thing is. But Charizard's its own character, and I think that's kind of cool. I'm not a huge Charizard fan, but
if you were going to take anyone from that set, though, Charizard.
Oh, yeah.
And Ivysaur, right? It was Ivysaur.
Yeah.
They played the best. I felt that Squirtle was too slick in his movements.
I like that, but...
Well, you're a Blastoise guy, too.
Exactly, but with Sheik and Zero Suit Samus, as we said, they're their own characters. But most people, when you play Zelda, you played as Sheik. I mean, who didn't? Like, I'm not... When you say, quote-unquote, professional gamers who play this game, they would just switch to Sheik right away.
You're never going to have anyone playing as Zelda ever again.
Yeah.
I'm saying it right now.
I would go that far, but pretty cool.
Oh, I'm not going to apologize for it, fucker.
But Zero Suit Samus, a lot of people are having problems because they're like, oh, her boobs, they made her boobs a little bigger. Oh, and they gave her heels. Like, dude, get the fuck over it. Like, that kind of shit bugs me. It's like, who fucking cares? They gave her heels to give her more to differentiate that word from Samus. Plus, she's kind of more based off the other M version, which some people didn't like. But I think it's cool because the heels, since she's her own character, she's got to find a way to shoot up real fast. And they have, like, cover, so they just shoot her up because they got, like, rocket power. Rocket Power was a great show. And so, I don't know. People are stupid about that.
Give me a 40 character roster, Smash Brothers. That's all I want. I want everybody. Give me my fucking Mewtwo back. Give me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like about Lucario. I wasn't gonna mention Lucario because he's not new, but they all have Mega Evolutions now, including Mewtwo. So Lucario is Mega Lucario, but
just give me you know what? I'll even take Dr. Mario back. I don't
get out. But
you know what? Seeing as they're doing this reskin thing where you'll play as you could play as the male or female Wii Fit trainer.
I mean, you could
Dr. Mario as Mario.
Instead of fireballs, you got the pills. I get you. But
that would make sense to have be one character slot.
But they haven't released a Dr. Mario game recently. You know what they did release? A Dr. Luigi game. Did you hear about that?
No.
Oh yes, I'll have to show you sometime soon.
My
but Dr.
God!
It's got a very similar but different play style from the main game. But we'll talk about that at a later time.
Okay.
Because we're running a little short on time. But yeah, I mean Greninja is awesome. Have you seen anything from Greninja?
I've seen screenshots.
He's the final evolution from the main water Pokemon, your water starter, and the 6th gen from X and Y. I love it. I was so excited because I always choose the water starters, and Greninja is amazing. I think it's a great fit. He's got a ninja. He's got this big tongue. I think he can throw ninja stars. I think that is amazing.
I'm sure I'll enjoy playing as him in the game.
Yeah, Rosalina and Luma. Okay, that's cool. I think it is cool that you can throw Luma out. You're playing as Rosalina. She's playing with this Luma, kind of like Peach and Toad, but she never got to play with Toad.
Yeah.
And Rosalina throws her Luma out. And what you can do is they fight separately. When you punch, it punches, so you can be fighting two guys at once and do awesome combos where you slap a guy in between the two and that kind of stuff.
Now, I like that because that requires strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, not a whole lot to talk about that one. Other thing before we jump on to the last big character, Luigi has his. Do you remember his Final Smash? It was this weird dancey thing.
Yeah, it was like a void, right?
Which I don't get what that had to do with Luigi. I mean,
Luigi's
Luigi
fucked up. That's the only reason.
I love Luigi. You watch your tongue, boy. But now he just whips out his big vacuum from the Luigi Mansion games. And I think he just, sucks a bunch of people up and then shoots them out or something.
That's his Final Smash?
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
Doesn't it? And I'm like, why didn't you guys do that the first time? But whatever. It is what it is. I'm super pumped. I think that's really cool.
Gotta have our Ouija.
Biggest friggin' edition, Mega Man.
Mega Man!
High five, Mega Man!
And Mega Man, something with the...
Brittle Floss!
Brittle Floss song! Thank you!
And yeah, I unfortunately still live at home while I'm finishing up, school and work and everything. And I just remember watching E3 and it says Challenger approaching. I'm like, who's it gonna be? I'm like, no way, is that Mega Man? And I go, ah! And my mom's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my, I thought you were dying or something. Like, no joke. Like,
the only way it could be any better is if they just announced fucking Pac-Man. That's the only...
They were thinking about it because, it's being developed co-powered by Namco Bandai,
right.
Or Bandai Namco, as they changed their name recently. But,
yeah, they switched it around. I read
back to their Japanese name of Bandai Namco.
That's like the 6th time you fucking done some shit like that.
Fuck you. What do you think of Mega Man?
Oh my god. That's who I was talking about before. That made me so happy to get him in the game.
Was I the one who told you, right? Or had you heard?
Probably.
Because I remember texting you and our buddy Lucas being like, oh my god, Mega Man.
When I heard that news, I was like, I don't care if we get Snake back. I don't.
Wonder if we do. I don't know.
I don't think we do. I think we just get Sonic.
To be fair, though, Sonic, Mega Man, and Mario.
Oh my god. I know.
Exactly.
When we got Sonic with Brawl, I was ecstatic. I couldn't fucking believe it. I'm like, we're finally going to be able to do Sonic versus Mario.
Exactly. That's what I was most excited about.
It's like, now we got fucking Mega Man. It's like, how much better could you get? There's no other third-party character aside from Pac-Man that you could have in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously someone's going to be like, but wait, there is.
Well, you see, from 1987, if we put in Zigzag...
a lot of people will be like, oh, Bomberman or something, but
you know what, I'm all for Bomberman, but I don't give a shit if he's not in the game.
Mega Man, Sonic, Mario, and he's got a lot of, have you seen his Final Smash?
No.
What he does is he goes for a huge Mega Buster, and then he's standing next to Mega Man X. And then there's another...
That's where that picture comes from?
Yeah, that's a real picture. And another Mega Man to his left, and there's 2 other Mega Man, and
he's next to every iteration of Mega Man that has ever existed. You have Mega Man Battle Network, you got Mega Man X, you got Mega Man Legends, you got, obviously, Mega Man. And, I didn't know that was what it was. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's 5.
Oh.
And it's the ones that he's mentioned, Mega Man Legends. I'm not sure which one that is.
I don't know who that is. That's Battle Network. But I don't know who.
Yeah, I mean, there's regular Mega Man X, and that kind of stuff. There's one that I'm not exactly sure what it is.
People in the comments, look up this picture, or we're going to link it, or whatever you do.
Let us know who that...
It's the first to the right from Mega Man, from basic Mega Man.
Fourth from the left, first from the right. I'm a Mega Man fan, but I can't recognize it. But
it's next to Mega Man Legends Mega Man.
Yeah, and I think that is just the coolest thing ever. Like,
that is tits. That's the only way you can describe it.
Exactly, and that just so cool. I mean, what else can you say than that? Other than maybe an actual new Mega Man game, but.
Fuck you, Capcom. Fuck you.
We got Mighty Number 9 anyways.
We do have Mighty Number 9.
Exactly. I'm gonna run down the other little things and we'll talk about it. I know you were in a hole. I'm a huge fan of Pokeball and Master Ball in the sense where, if there's a Pokeball that falls on the screen, if it's a Pokeball, it'll be just like a regular Pokemon. If it's a Master Ball, it'll be a legendary Pokemon. And I know you were kind of iffy about it, but the way I see it is if a Pokeball falls, if you miss it, you're like, well, I missed it, but it's not a big deal because I know it's not a legendary. But if you see a Master Ball fall, you guys are gonna fight for that ball. You're gonna you're really gonna go for it, You
gotta go for the balls, Gage.
Exactly. Sick 'em. So, and that's why I think that's cool.
I think it's stupid, and I'm gonna say why. Every Smash Brothers game has been that Pokeball is the item.
Oh, yes.
Except for with Brawl, and you have the Smash Brawl. The ball.
Yeah, the Smash Ball.
The final Smash Ball. Yes, thank you. You could get literally anything. You could get fucking Zapdos, I think. With one of them.
I get you.
It is that random chance. It made it so appealing, and I think that adding in another ball, a Master Ball, it just cuts down on the thrill of it, of like, oh, I wonder what I'm gonna get.
I mean, and I totally agree, but that's why I see it, like, you get a Pokeball and you're like, cool, I still want to grab it because it might have, like, a really awesome, like a Blastoise that shoots water, Hydro Cannons at you, but, that adds a little bit more excitement to me because then you gotta run, you're like, oh my god, that is a Master Ball, I better go grab it, I can kind of see where you're coming from.
You know what, I totally agree with you. I'm not saying I don't. I just, from my perspective, I say cut down, get a core number of Pokemon that people are going to fucking recognize, because not everyone that's buying this game is going to be a Pokemon guy.
Oh, yeah. Like me.
And,
and by that, I mean, I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and you're not as much, so you might
I'm not going to have an idea who half these guys are.
Yeah. But, yeah,
And then you combine that with the trophies.
I enjoy the assist trophies. I think they're great.
I like them, but that's too many helper characters.
But that's why I think it's cool that you can turn it off. But I totally get what you're saying. But another thing that's cool, Smash Brothers for the 3DS runs at 60 frames per second, which is amazing. Like, having it run at that smooth of a frame rate is really cool.
Oh, especially for a handheld. That really shows you what age we're living in.
Exactly. Final Destination is one, like I said earlier, if you're a professional guy, professional Smash Brothers player, you pretty much play Final Destination 1v1. And, well, I guess you can play, 1v1, V. It's a fun game. And, and what's cool is that, back in the day, it was, interesting, but it was kind of boring. It was just like a purple platform, not really exciting. This game has final destinations for each stage. Each stage has a final destination form.
One of the best ideas
for
the series at all.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to play a real match with somebody, of course, you do Final Destination. But half the fun of Smash Brothers is going on the crazy levels and getting the hazards and everything.
Yeah.
And even when you're having, a serious match, it's like, can we shake things up and do something
I mean, there's not really hazards, though, in the Final Destination version.
Right, but you know what? That alone, just to have a change in background is so much cooler than just outer space.
Exactly.
You still have traditional outer space Final Destination, but it looks so much prettier. I mean, you got the big moon.
The weirdest thing. It's so pretty, but I totally agree with you.
It's so pretty, man.
Yeah. And the fact that
it's one of the best ideas they have for the game.
And now that you can play online for both 3DS and Wii U, and they said that, I mean, I didn't want to comment a whole lot about here, but they have a good way of matching you up with somebody else, and if you drop out too many times, they end up banning you and throwing you into a different group and blah, 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 blah.
That's good.
But it's cool that the 3DS version also has online, and I think that's great. The 3DS version has its own version called Smash Run, where you get like a minute or something beforehand, and you're through this little mini level, and kind of like, whatever, a Space Emissary in Brawl, and you're running through and you're collecting power-ups, right? Like, kind of like Kirby Air Ride, you collect power-ups before you battle, you get like a minute to collect power-ups, so this one will give you...
Oh, I totally get that reference, yeah.
Yeah, shut up. Okay. And you get like a stronger punch. You don't actually get items, but you like collect the item, it gives you a stronger punch, or it makes you faster, so you get to collect these little tiny power-ups.
For your stats.
For like a minute, and then you actually battle, and you get to battle it out, and I think that's a really interesting way to...
It's different.
And that's the way I see it. I think it's a lot of fun to mix it up. Instead of just like, oh, you're fighting with your friends with items, but it's a different way, you know, you want to fight it out to get the good stats for when you're fighting. Not an all the time kind of thing, but, you know.
They're definitely taking a lot of risks with this new Smash Brothers game.
Definitely.
They're adding different shit. They're trying to focus on it as a fighter, and that's pretty cool, man. I really gotta say that.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. I mean, I'm just super excited. And, you know, real quick, there is 2 online game modes. For fun mode, random stages, all the items, only wins are recorded. I think that's cool. That'll probably what I'll do more, because I play the game for fun. Or if you're more into being, like, quote-unquote professional player, with all the cool, like, false grabs and this thing and that thing, there's For Glory mode, so you play exclusively on Final Destination, no items, 1v1. I think it's cool that they give you those options. And, so yeah. So overall, I'm super excited. I assume you're super excited?
I really am. This is the game that I have been waiting for to get a Wii U.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've heard you've been talking about that. As soon as it was announced, you're like, I need to get a Wii U for this game. And even though you have a 3DS now, I assume you still want to, you know.
Oh, my God. I'm still going to... That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I will get both versions of this game, and I don't do that.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're going to be different enough. I mean, all you got to do is look up the art style differences. One has more of a cel-shaded kind of look to it. The other one's a high-res.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be getting different play experiences from both games. There's no way you won't. And I am very excited. You know what? This could all be a fucking mess, and this could be the worst Smash Brothers game I've ever played. But I won't care. I'm buying them.
Oh, yeah. And I'm just super excited. No matter what, I will be buying it day one. I'm not sure about you. I know I'm buying both day one, and I'm excited for it.
I'm going to try to.
Yeah, and I know you are too. A little bit of a transition. We're going to be talking about the Game Boy 25th anniversary, but as some people know, there's a fan game called Super Smash Land. It's a demake. You get to play as 4 characters: Pikachu, Link, Kirby, and Mario. And they just kind of take the game, shorten it to look like a Game Boy kind of style. You know, have you played it before?
I've never played it, but I remember when it came out, I used to watch footage of it.
And obviously, it's not a real game; it's a fan-made game, and I think it looks like fun. And we're gonna leave a link. I'm not gonna talk about it a whole lot. You got something to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, for a fan-made game, man, this looks professional.
Oh, yeah.
This is what we would have gotten if they would have made a Smash Brothers game for the Game Boy.
And I'm not even talking Game Boy Color. We're just talking original Game Boy.
It's got that classic green
and gray thing, and I think it's super cool. We'll leave a link. You can download it for free.
Check it out.
But Game Boy 25th anniversary. We don't got a whole lot of time left, but I figured we'll just talk about it a little bit. Like I was talking about earlier, my first big thing was Game Boy. I played Kirby Dream Land, and that's really what got me into gaming. And that's why I have to thank the Game Boy. Did you play the Game Boy much?
Like you said, I wasn't a big handheld guy. I had my Game Boy, but I used the Super Game Boy more, which was an add-on for the Super Nintendo, so you could play it on your TV. It used to give me headaches. But I remember I used to play... As far as Game Boy games go, I used to play Contra and Super C. I had the Game Boy versions, and I loved them. I played them all the time.
I mean, that's why, and, you know, he died in 1997, but Gunpei Yokoi, or however, I'm terrible, he was kind of like the guy.
Don't get mad.
He's the guy who pretty much brought the Game Boy to life. And, you know, he was the inventor of the modern day D-pad. And that's why Nintendo had a patent on it forever till recently, and that's why now the PS4 controller and the Xbox have a normal D-pad. But, I mean, I
owe a lot to him.
Yeah, I mean, the Game Boy, that first thing, and then I got the Game Boy Color, and that was my first Game Boy. Played Pokemon all the time. Pokemon Yellow was my big one. Got my Pidgeot to level 100, and then I forgot it in my pocket. My mom washed it and deleted my save file. And as a young child, I cried a lot.
I got to one of the last bosses, and I only leveled up my Charizard, and I think I had a Weedle, a Pidgey, and a Ghastly, and that's all I had.
Wow.
And my team got their asses kicked because I never leveled anyone up, and then I gave up.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, so you didn't play it a whole lot. Just,
no,
you know,
I was really into Pokemon Red, and then I gave up.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say you'd agree with me. Someone who, you know, you didn't even play the Game Boy that much, but, you know, I owe the Game Boy a whole lot because it created a lot of things for today.
It was just not my thing.
Yeah.
But if we didn't have the Game Boy, Christ, I don't even know we'd be playing the same landscape.
Did you ever play Game Boy Advance?
No, I had one, but I only played
you definitely
like 2
weren't
games.
a handheld game. I was a huge Game Boy Advance player. I had the Game Boy SP, which was a clamshell. It's folded down. Do you remember that?
I remember the Game Boy SP.
And
my cousins had
that one was super cool because people were like, oh, it's like the new flip phones, and back when those things were a thing. And obviously, you know, that was super crazy. And I still have my SP. Well, I lie. I had it forever, and then I gave it to my buddy because he was having a rough time and he needed something, so I gave it to him.
I remember the appeal on that one, and why I almost got one was because it was backlit.
Yep.
And that's all I wanted.
Because with the original Game Boy Advance, you could be next to the sun and still not see the screen. But this one, and I'm not sure if it was backlit.
Glare.
I think it was front lit. But there was definitely, for the Game Boy Advance SP, it was front lit, I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Well, either way, you could actually see what the fuck was going on.
Plus, you know, you play Game Boy games and switch to the resolution. I loved it. And it evolved into the DS. And I had the first ever DS. Kind of, you know, long story short, I lent it to a buddy, and he was kind of an asshole and sold it because he needed money for prom. And whatever.
Jesus, we're getting real.
Yeah. I mean, eventually he paid me back and we're all good, but...
Don't fuck over Gage, he's a bitter ass.
Exactly. But when I got the 3DS, if you destroy all nostalgia, like if I don't consider nostalgia, 3DS is my top 3 favorite systems because it has so many games for it, and I love it, and I know you're new to the 3DS world, and I will show you the world of 3DS.
Shining, shimmering 3DS.
And, you know, and it was kind of a short little talk on the Game Boy. But my favorite Game Boy game, really rough to say, probably Pokemon Crystal.
Pokemon Crystal? All
yeah.
Right. Good for you.
Can you think of at least one of the main games you played the most? So for Game Boy?
Pokemon or just Game Boy games in general?
In general.
Fucking Contra, man. I used to play.
That's on the Game Boy?
I used to play the Game Boy version of Contra all the time.
Really?
Because that was the only version of Contra I had, right? So
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I used to play that shit all the time.
That is pretty great. I mean, sorry, it took me a second. I was just thinking about it. Like, I guess I never knew. I was never a huge Contra fan.
Yeah, I was going to say, you never really played it. But I remember playing that and Super C all the time. All the fucking time. That was my one game.
Right. But yeah, so kind of cut it short just because, boy, we are running low on time. But, you know, that was the first episode of Gen 1.
I had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a lot of fun. This is the best part. I mean, I've recorded a few podcasts now. I literally had the most fun on here than I have out of all of them. And I'm not just saying that because you're right sitting next to me. I had a lot of fun. Learned a lot about my best friend. One of my best friends I didn't know a whole lot about. I mean, when it comes to the gaming world, we talk about gaming, but not a whole lot about the past. So yeah, man, we'll have a lot more for you in episode 2. Any last words that you'd like to say?
I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. I hope you come back for next time. We're going to keep these up as consistent as possible.
Definitely.
If you got any topics that you'd like to hear us talk about, or anything you want, any questions you want answered, any stupid shit you want me and Gage to say, leave that in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. Leave it in there. I do have a question for you, and I'm not just saying this. I honestly want to know, for those people who will listen to this, if you listen all the way through, and I appreciate you, and I know Nicky does too.
Oh, God, so much.
But what is your favorite Game Boy game, or Game Boy Advance if you didn't play Game Boy a whole lot? I want to know. So definitely leave a comment, and we will bid you a good night. Thank you for listening.
Bye!
Bye.